and welcome back to another show of Cuppa Tea with the Vet. You got your cup, Lewis?
I do.
It's lovely to have you on here, Lewis. We have got Luis Sousa joining us today. And yeah, firstly, I do want to apologise about the delay on this. Virgin Media let us down completely. No internet signal. But anyway, hopefully we're all sorted. If we drop out, then that's who I'm blaming. So anyway, over to Lewis. Introduce yourself.
So my name's Luis, as you know. I've been a vet for about 4 years now. Moved to the UK. I was not fully a vet yet. I finished my degree at Swansea University, a little bit of a master's in microbiology, and then went back home, finished my degree, presented my thesis, and then came back to the UK for the meat industry for a few months, and then found a job in small animals and stopped doing small animals last year to go full cyber vet.
Amazing. There's so many things to talk about here. I mean, firstly, a little bit of a master's. I mean, what does a little bit of a master's mean? What was that? That sounds amazing.
Our degree in Portugal is slightly different. So you don't have the option of not doing a master's. Everyone comes out with a master's at the end, which means the degree is longer, but there's that little advantage of having already a master's by the time you come out. So it's 7 years total.
Wow.
Because the master is tagged along at the end of your degree. And that's what I meant by a little bit of a master's, because you're forced to, and everyone has one that comes from there. So it's not really anything special because you're forced to do it.
Wow, I mean, it's not special in Portugal, but that's still pretty amazing. So, and 7 years is a long old slog. So that's quite amazing. So what was your master's in?
Application of Manuka Honey for chronic infections with strains of zoonotic bacteria.
That is incredible. And did it have good results?
Yeah. So the group I was working with, they had they were working with Medicine University in Swansea, and my contribution to the whole thing was coming out at it from the zoonotic point of view. So the strains I was investigating have zoonotic potential, but they are very specialized on like cystic fibrosis and those sort of things. But it is very, very interesting. And I always found that what you want with a master's is to do something that you're probably never going to do again in your career, because investigation doesn't pay anything and people still need to pay bills at the end of the month. So I had very much that approach to it. Let's do something that I'm probably not going to have the opportunity to ever do again. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing.
That's amazing. And actually, yeah, especially on something like Manuka Honey, because obviously it's not a big pharma product. So there's no big giant bill to come across it. But I know that a lot of owners would be very happy to hear about that, because obviously we hear about things like Manuka Honey, but to have a bit more evidence that it's great stuff, that's great news, isn't it?
People have to be careful with the Manuka Honey, though, especially when they buy it like off, like anywhere really. There is a very interesting fact about Manuka Honey, which is that the amount that's sold per year is about 3 times as much as the amount produced. So you can see how these two numbers don't match. So a lot of Manuka Honey that's on sale is not actual Manuka Honey. So that's why it's important to use like actual medical grade Manuka Honey that's proven to actually be Manuka Honey. Don't just go buy an off-the-shelf Manuka Honey and use it, because you might not be buying what you think you are.
Yeah, no, but that's a really good tip. Thanks for letting us know that. And that's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you hear about cutting drugs, you don't hear about cutting Manuka honey, do you? So, but it's obviously been mixed with other things to make it go that bit further. But I do know that honey generally is a mix, isn't it? Because when you have a certain, it's all flavored by the pollens that the bees have gone to, and so like ivy honey is supposed to be not particularly nice. I did actually go to a honey shop once in Germany, actually, and they had all different types of honey, like unbelievably. So we tasted loads of different lavender honey, was amazing. But that was where I learned that they all get mixed together to make the same one that you buy in the shop all the time. So yeah, that is quite interesting. And I never thought of that Manuka honey would be cut like that to make it something else. So
anything that's expensive is going to end up being cut.
Well, the expense bit doesn't surprise me so much. But what I was going to say is there a big difference between Manuka honey and other honeys?
So apparently, yes, but we have no idea why. So it's one of those things, a little bit like snake venoms. There's so many compounds in it that it's super difficult to pinpoint exactly where the effect comes from. And sometimes when you break it into its actual components, they don't work as the interaction does. So the sum of the parts is not always the same as the things separate. So we know that there is a difference. Manuka Honey seems to be particularly good at breaking down biofilms and things like that, but there is no clear answer to why just yet.
Wow, that's so interesting. And it is Manuka honey comes because it's come from the Manuka plant that they've
Mhm.
made that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that is interesting. Yeah. So I did want to also ask more about your background in the meat industry, because obviously it's not, it's a we've never had a vet on here that has been from the meat industry before. So how did you end up in there really?
So the main reason is that it's really easy to find work because, as you said, not many people do it. So it is really, really easy to find work. And when you move countries, one of the most difficult things is like having work from the get-go, which was basically how I used it, just to be actually able to move without concern to paying bills, because I had the job guaranteed. I actually had a job guaranteed before I even finished my actual degree. Everything was
Oh
ready to
wow.
go. So that was mainly the why I started there. And also in uni, I always liked exploring the piece of what you can do as a vet, because that's what mainly attracted me to the job, is how varied it can be, that it doesn't get stale. I couldn't imagine doing the same thing for like 20 years until you retire. That seems like really, really boring. So while in uni, I was always exploring those sort of like more fringe work market type things, not as much the clinical side because that's almost a given. So I moved there, but then I really, really, really didn't like it. I understand why it's needed and why it is important to have that like filter that keeps things on track, but it's just very boring. That's the main issue, is that it is very boring, and I could feel all my brain just going to mush doing the same thing day in and day out without any challenge really, because it is very methodical and mechanical. So yeah, that's why I ended up not lasting, not because it's dreadful or anything like that, just simply because it's so boring.
Yeah, I mean that is interesting to sort of cover that point, because ultimately, I meat and me don't really we don't go together. But it's a big industry because a lot of people do eat meat, and but from that point of view, it's really needed, isn't it? You've got to keep making sure that the welfare of the animal is as good as it possibly can be while people are eating it. It's got to be looked after. Can't just ignore it. But on the flip side, as a vet, it sort of seems far removed from what you go into veterinary for in the first place. So, it's interesting that you coped well, but it was tedious. Was it just lots of paperwork?
It's just that the actual inspection part, which is what I did, is just it's like cutting into organs and looking for diseases, and also making sure that the welfare at slaughter is done properly, so that animals are actually slaughtered properly. It's not really the paperwork; it's just that that's what it is. Period. There's no challenge. There's no spice. There's nothing. It's always the same thing.
Yeah,
Are things working properly? Is the safe? And that's it.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you managed to make a difference and make sure that things were done properly for a period of time. And then you're out of it now and you're into the much happier world of the smallies and consulting.
I wouldn't necessarily say happier, but definitely more interesting.
Oh, Okay.
It has its own challenges that that doesn't have.
Of
But
course. Well, every job's different, right? And that's what you
yep.
said. You wanted the challenge and the open mind. So so that's better. So now you work in the Smalley world, and you've now come on to doing telemedicine. Is that right?
Mhm.
You had some working
100%.
with them all first, and then now you're doing telemedicine. How are you enjoying that?
Love it. I really, really love it. This is the type of job where I would actually see myself doing it for like 10 years without getting bored of it. It's just, it's different in the right ways, in my opinion. Plus the whole unspoken benefits of working from home, creating your own schedule, all of those things that impact your quality of life. And I do mainly out of hours, and I think that that also contributes to it a little bit, because people are extremely grateful and happy that they can actually speak to someone from their house at 4 in the morning, and that
Yes.
changes the vet client interaction to be extremely positive 98% of the time, which
Yeah.
is probably not true in normal GP practice.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, GP practice can be very difficult at times, but there are a lot of very grateful clients. But the difficult ones can seem very overwhelming, can't they? So yeah, that's tough. But I'm glad that you're enjoying it though. So that's really good. What's it that you're liking it mostly because people are generally happier? Is that what you're saying, or is there anything
That
else
is
to it?
definitely a fact, but I think that it also plays into what I like doing as a vet a lot. I love consulting. I'm probably in the minority here. I've When I was working from my previous job, I had no trouble with my colleagues because what their interests were like completely opposite. I was never this surgery type person. I like my dogs awake. If they are asleep, it's not as fun. So I like consulting. I like dealing with nervous, anxious animals. That whole thing is what I like. I like the pureness of like consulting, and I
Oh,
find
that's
that
lovely.
telemedicine is just that times 100, where
Yeah,
it's a pure like mental exercise on these are the signs, this is what the patient's looking like at the moment, what's the possible, what are the different possibilities that could explain this. Let's walk the client through all the possibilities and why not things could be, and what to do to rule out, or if we need to monitor, or if this needs to be seen straight away. It's to me veterinary consulting in its purest form, which I
yeah.
really, really like.
I think that's lovely. It's lovely to hear. And I think it's really great for owners to hear as well, because they don't want to feel like they're a burden. They want to feel like they're, that it's okay that they're there.
Exactly.
And when you do appreciate and like your consulting, that is how it comes across. And so, that's really lovely for people to hear. So yeah, don't go diving off and disappearing completely. I think you've probably got about trillion loving clients out there that just want to see Lewis. So that's really good, and it's really, I mean, that's a great thing, I guess, about you being consulting now online, is you could be getting people from anywhere in the country,
Yep.
literally you're at the end of the phone. So although they wouldn't know they're going to get hold of you, though, would they wouldn't be able to make a
They
controlled.
actually do, because the way that
Oh,
the company I work for, we do web chat. So when you go into the app, you can actually choose your slot, and you know which vet you're seeing based on your slot. You can't pick your vet unless you just look through the entire schedule and see maybe that they are working a particular slot, but because the slots rotate as they get booked. But you do know who you're talking to.
oh wow, well, that's nice then. So there you go, you can talk to Lewis, that's all good.
You definitely can.
Wonderful. So what do you like to do when have got some spare time, now that you've got all this lovely time available to you and you're not traveling to work and stuff?
Oh, not traveling to work is so good. But yeah, I was always a little bit of a hermit. I like my space, so I spend a lot of time at home still. I like my music and my video games and stuff like that. So, and my TV shows, so I can actually spend a lot of time home just doing random stuff. That's basically how I do it, and then go out for walks and food and stuff with the girlfriend when she's off.
Oh, lovely. That sounds really lovely. What brought you over to the UK then?
Mainly the fact that when you look at the entire world's veterinary profession, like how how do I say it? Quality, probably. The UK is the best. It's literally the best. The
Oh,
relationship
wow.
that British people have with their pets, to me, is like the best. They treated them like children, which ends up meaning that the industry is quite evolved. So that was why I ended up coming here, because I just feel like it's the most advanced um, pet care in the world, probably. Other English speaking countries are close, especially places like the US, I suppose. But there is a difference in culture still, that I still find that Brits are slightly better.
That's amazing. I think that us Brits will be very, very proud to hear that. So it definitely does vary area to area. Yeah, so that's really interesting that you say that. So I mean, yeah, it's a really lovely thing, because when you live it, you just assume everybody's like it, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely not.
no, that's amazing. And but they are like our babies. There's no two ways about it. And yeah, they're our absolute world, aren't they? And you just like, oh, we're gonna squidge them all up. And it's an amazing thing, because now, people are starting to take their dogs to puppy school and stuff like that. And those are the labels, school, and they do see training as just as essential as the kid going to school, and which is really important. So yeah, that's fabulous. It's nice to see other countries seeing that back, and that had enough of an impact for you to want to move country. I mean, that's quite significant.
Yeah, but I don't like warm weather, so British weather is much more suitable for me. I like the grey, cold days. They make me
Wow.
happy.
Well, we have plenty of those, so fair
Yeah,
enough. Blimey. So what's your favorite part of being a vet?
it's definitely the interaction and knowing that you're making a difference in that pet's happiness level, because it's all about comfort and happiness to me. Um, the job of owners is to give their pets the best conditions they can, and our job is to help them achieve that goal, basically.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, that, yeah, perfect answer. Perfect answer. Have you got any pets?
I do. I have 3 rabbits.
Oh, wow, they house rabbits.
They moved in when the girlfriend moved in.
Ah, I see. They came as a package deal.
Yep.
Oh,
And they give me
lovely.
plenty of work.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Rabbits make me itch, but I love them to bits. So I still treat them, but I must admit, I always think definitely couldn't be in my house just because I itch. But they're really
Yeah.
good, aren't they? They're very, very good at being just house trainable. So, but
Yep.
they litter trained and everything.
Hmm.
Amazing. Did that take a
And they
lot of
have.
work, or did the girlfriend do it all before she moved in?
She did, but they are very. They take up very well, like cats do. And then if you treat them properly and interact with them, they have a very good intelligence level. They recognize their name, they do paw and stand up for food and stuff like that. You can literally, one of them you can call him from another room and he'll come to you if he hears his name, and then the other two follow because they follow the lead.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's amazing. Oh well, I'm glad. That's so lovely. That's so lovely. So, what part of being a vet grosses you out?
Hmm. Grossing out, probably just poop, mostly. I don't think
Yeah.
anything else does. But when there's that post-operative uh, poop show in the kennels, when they come out of surgery and decide to spray all over the place, that's probably the one thing that does gross me out. Abscesses don't, blood definitely doesn't, but I think is the one thing that grosses me out a little bit. Just poop
That's fair
spraying
enough.
everywhere.
That is fair enough. That's fair enough. So, what would, if time and money was no object, what would be your dream achievement?
I would like to start a sort of zero profit insurance type thing, where the
Oh,
goal is to
wow.
create like an NHS type thing for pets, but that it's your choice, sign up or not. But where the goal would be to just run at a zero profit. Everyone would get paid fair wages, and that would be basically the top that you'd spend money on. A little
Yeah.
bit almost like insurance companies for human medicine work in the US, where certain doctors are signed up with specific companies and they will refer them to specific doctors. Almost the same type of system, but for vets, where you just have that sort of network of care, basically.
It sounds
I
amazing.
think that would be like the pinnacle of care, and we'll get there. I'm sure we'll get there.
Yes, I really hope so, because I agree. We do need something much more along those lines. And yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. But it's such a big thing, isn't it? Huge, huge thing. But well done. You've obviously got a plan in your mind. It sounds like you might actually be the one to make it happen.
I have no idea how the actual how to connect the two things. So how to make the financial model work. But hey, if there's someone there that's out there that's financially involved with that sort of thing, I do have ideas. Ideas. That's something that I do have.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I actually even considered like this. I thought, wouldn't this be a good idea if vet consult fees were body weight condition related?
Based.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing? Because then
That-
that definitely encourages you to lose weight. And, you know, if you are a good weight, you hardly ever go to the vets anyway, then you'd be cheaper. That's so
That's a more
perfect.
simpler solution, which is that we know body weight is a risk factor, so it would be risk factor based. Where you can include body score, and the healthier you keep your pet, the cheaper they are because they take less work. That's how insurance premiums work,
It
based on
is.
risk factors. So
Absolutely. I just was making it more plain English. But that is true, because there is a human insurance company that I think it's Vitality or something. Oh, I probably shouldn't say that. I don't know. Anyway, and they have those watches so that you can see what you've been, and if your activity level is a certain level every day, you get a cheaper premium. And I
yep.
just think, well, that's amazing, except I do gymnastics and I'm not wearing a watch for gymnastics, so it doesn't work for me. But yeah,
Although that's a tiny bit creepy because you have people snooping on your activity levels, which it's a little bit creepy. I think that might be a tad too much information.
well, I agree with you, but it's the way it goes now, isn't it? I mean, you can't like I every now and then, like I obviously have Google on my phone, and every now and then Google tells me you are X number of fitness level, like or most active person in Bracknell, and I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know what I've been doing? And how do you know where I've been going? And how do you know that everybody else has been or has not been doing stuff? Oh, it drives me mad. And especially for me, I don't like having my phone in my pocket. So I usually leave it places. So it doesn't even know what I've been doing. So yeah, I do agree with you from that point of view, but I'm trying to be open-minded because that is what these people do. But I don't like them listening. It's probably listening
I
to all this
just
now.
I just like I like those sort of things to be a choice, and as long as you're aware, is a little bit like social media. But I don't like when people go into it without thinking the problem through and knowing the like consequences of things. If you are aware, then you can pick your own risk level or commitment level to things like that, depending on what you're comfortable with. It's the not knowing that makes me
Yes,
uneasy when people
I
like
agree.
use Facebook without knowing the implications of it, and
Yeah.
social media in general and those sort of things. Yeah.
But I think that's what happens. You don't know until it's too late, and then you find out afterwards. Like with the
Yep.
Google stuff, I definitely find out that afterwards, and I swear it listens to me, because there's been a lot of times where you don't write anything anywhere, and then all of a sudden there's adverts for something you've been talking about, and you're like,
There's a website called Mine, and they can tell you which companies hold your data. So you can run a mind scan, and they'll tell you which companies hold your data. And it is scary because you don't think of it when you like sign up for or buy something online. Imagine you want to buy something online for your car, and you like put your email and stuff in, and then you are flagged up in databases for stuff like that. And yeah, it is scary.
Can it delete your data from these people?
It can. One of the things that they do is a GDPR withdrawal request, where they just email
Ah,
the companies that you want asking for the data to be deleted, and they have to. There's a you might have to jump through some hoops, but you definitely can because of the GDPR legislation thing. Financial institutions a little bit different because there are data that they are legally need to keep,
mm.
but other things are they kind of have to.
Wow, that's insane. You know a lot about this. That's quite interesting. You're very
I
clued
have
up.
a lot of interest in tech in general, so
Yeah. That's fair enough. I remember when the GDPR stuff first came out, and I was having loads of problem with Iceland. I'd signed up for an Iceland home shop thing. Anyway, it was all disaster. So I decided I don't want you to have it anymore. And then they kept spamming me with email addresses, like emails all the time. And I'd keep saying, no, I don't want your email anymore. And then they'd send you with another one. And I emailed them, said, why are you sending me when I've clearly said I don't want them anymore? And they said, oh, yeah, but you signed out to that particular newsletter role, and you're still signed in for this one and this one and this one. And they just, like your summer one, you signed out for the summer, so you get the autumn, winter, or whatever. They had a sort of excuse. They said, fine, that's it. I want you to take my data off. And then they demanded to see my passport to remove my data. I said, you didn't take my passport to put my data on. I'm not giving you more data to get you to delete it. Unbelievable. So yeah, but I did complain to the ICO people, whoever it was, and they did sort it all out. But I was like, wow, why have you got to make it so hard? Unbelievable. But anyway, they are what they are, these crazy people.
because
So
your data is worth money, that's why they don't want to get rid of it.
I know, exactly. It's freaky that it is worth that much to them. You think my data isn't worth much to me. But I guess it is somehow, but it's working it out. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So if you could do a Facebook Live with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Huh. That is a really good question, actually. I might need a couple of seconds to think about that.
That is fair enough. I've had some really good answers and then some that really throw you and you're like, oh, I've not heard that one before.
Churchill, probably.
Now that would be a really interesting person to have a chat with. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
that would
that's
be.
yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I would love to ask him more about his like role with the Queen when she first came in power, because in power to the throne, because I know that he was very much her right hand man for quite some time to sort of help show the ways. And I hear quite a lot about that. So yeah, he would definitely be an interesting person. Well, and what would one of your questions be?
I don't know specific questions, but I know that I'd like to see what he thinks of the result of the ensuing world after World War II at what we are right now. And I'm betting that he would have spicy things to say about it.
I'm
That's my
sure.
feeling.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's always a wonderful thing, isn't it? So, yeah. And I didn't realize he was such a wealthy man before he got into power as well. He's brought up so wealthy. I mean, he's practically royal family anyway. I only recently found that out. But yeah, very, very interesting. I think he lived at Blenheim Palace for a bit or something.
I
I'm
think
sure he
so.
did. Yeah, unbelievable, man. So, yeah, that's a really good answer. That's definitely a good answer. So, tell us something that people don't know about you.
Hmm.
Secrets come out now.
Wow. Something that people don't know about me. I
Now
guess
you're wishing you read the questions in advance, aren't you?
there's so much. No, I read the questions, but I didn't think we're going to be able to go through all of them. So there's some that I thought that might not be coming
There
up.
definitely are. We won't get through all of them.
I'm, I'm I don't think there is something that people don't know about me that's in any way uh, relevant.
Doesn't matter, it's relevant. I'm just nosy.
Okay, okay. I think one thing that people don't know about me because it doesn't really like show up much, is that I actually have a metabolic disease where my mitochondrial rate is a lot faster than normal.
Oh, wow.
So I, in theory, age slightly faster than the average person. Started losing my hair at 16 because of that. But on the other hand, I can't get fat. I physically can't get fat. Can eat whatever I want, and I can't get fat.
Wow. Swings and roundabouts.
So trade the hairline for not being able to get fat. Let's see what
That's
happens when I start
amazing.
getting into my 30s and 40s and seeing if that changes.
Hey,
But
you can buy hair plugs these days, can't you? One
yeah,
of my friends had plugs done, and
Musk did it.
oh well, there you go, there you go. My friend's very happy with his. I was shocked. I had no idea. He just wore a bandana for ages, and all of a sudden came in with no bandana. He said, "I had to wait for it to grow back." I was like,
It's about 10
"Okay,
grand.
wow,
Yep,
really?" Well, I didn't ask that question. I mean, I didn't expect it to be cheap, but I was like one of those questions you're like, you don't ask that one. So, wow, that's amazing. Oh, well, you know, he's happy. So there you go. And that's what savings are for, right?
exactly.
That's cool. How did you find out about that?
About
Your
because
disease?
I swim. I used to swim a lot when I was a child. I started swimming at like 6, and they do metabolic tests and stuff like that. So that's how, by testing, like doing the oxygen test, that
Yeah.
to measure your basal metabolic rate, I'm about 20% higher than most people on baseline consumption.
Wow. I would so love to have that test done. That is so cool. Wow. So that's really, I mean, that's a nice thing to find out, really, just because it's kind of, you would never know otherwise, would you?
No.
That's amazing. That's a very cool fact you've just told us there. I'm really glad I asked that question. So awesome. So, what's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
So I didn't used to be a very spontaneous person in general, but then I realized that the reason I wasn't was because of work. As I said before, I am I'm very much a hermit. I like my own space. But now that I have the chance to have all that space and time that I want, I become a lot more spontaneous when I don't want to be at home. So just randomly going places happens a lot now, and I guess that that's what I learned when I started doing telemedicine, where I learned about myself, that I actually also get tired of being home, just that my level is a lot higher than most people. But once I have the opportunity to actually do what I want to do and play my games and watch my shows and stuff, then I'm a lot more open to human interaction after that. So I guess that since I've started doing that, I have actually become quite spontaneously with just going places, going foraging a lot. So yeah,
Oh, that's lovely. I love foraging. Does that mean you make jam as well?
most I like other types of foraging, like mainly like garlic and those sorts of plants to actually cook with. Jams and fruits, what tends to happen is that I eat everything while I'm picking it, so there's nothing left to actually make anything with.
That is fair enough. That's fair enough. I love making jam. I'm jam maker. It's like my chill zone. You can just do it in the evening, chill. And we're really lucky because we get a ton of damsons where we are,
Oh,
and
nice.
so it's really easy. And it's not one you particularly buy, so that's good. And I know where all the slowberries are as well. I know all the spots, so which is very helpful. Oh, that's
One
really
of
nice
the
to get to go
one of
out.
the fantastic things about Wales that really made me like fall in love with the country is I live in Cardiff, huge city. I can drive 10 minutes away from Cardiff and it's like I'm in a nature reserve. The
Yes.
country turns from urban into nature in the blink of an eye. And even Cardiff, which is the capital, doesn't feel like restrictive and all like jungly, like that urban jungle type scenarios, quite open and green and stuff. So that's one of the main reasons I ended up staying, because I really like the lifestyle.
It is lovely in Cardiff. It is lovely there. It is quite a greeny, leafy one. It's funny, some cities are like that. I've not been to lots of cities, but even Birmingham, which is so industrial in the middle, it doesn't take long to drive out of it. And then it's completely countryside. It's like a circle and it's just like on or off. And
Yeah.
there's no like little dull down bit, whereas like London, it all sort of spreads slowly out, and so it takes quite a while before you get to a non-urban bit. So
I'm
yeah,
quite
it is.
looking forward to see if I can buy a house, because another advantage of being working from home is that you can literally move anywhere. There's no commute implications. As long as I have a good internet connection, the world is open. So I went back to Portugal a few months back after the whole pandemic kind of died down. I hadn't been to see my family in close to 2 years, and I didn't even take time off. I just worked from there because I could.
Yeah, that is serious flexibility. That is amazing. Yeah, that's great. So we've talked quite a lot about your work and how it is now. Is there any particular parts you want to sing the praises of for FirstVet?
Mostly the work environment and the mentality is different, and it comes from being a startup and not having any corporate overlords. Really, it's all a very constructive partnership type environment where everyone kind of rows the same boat to the same direction without any sort of internal struggles or anything like that, where you actually feel like there are no hidden reasons for things not to happen. Things are always very clear why they are the way they are, which is not always the case when you're working in any sort of clinical setting. Really, there is a lot of hands in the pie, and you sometimes don't know exactly which ones are which. But yeah, I like that whole the whole work mentality is quite nice.
No, that's lovely, and it is true. I mean, I've spoke to one of your managers at FirstVet, and she's absolutely lovely. And I've spoken to quite a lot of the vets at FirstVet, and they're all just so happy. And it is bizarre how, considering you don't have a workplace, you all know like of each other, and you all have meetings and stuff. It is really quite impressive. So, yeah, it is really good to see and really good to hear. And yeah,
We
great
have
to
our
hear.
little conference Skype calls where we just chat and stuff, and there's the Slack groups and stuff for talking to not about non-work related things. So yeah, it is quite nice. I love the work atmosphere with it.
Yeah, that's really good. So the last question I like to always ask my vets is, what do you love about physio?
I have a rabbit that has arthritis, really, really bad arthritis. We started him on a new drug cocktail literally last week because sometimes he gets tired and starts dragging his back legs. And watching physio work on him, because we took him to physio, was like a revelation moment where you're like, oh, so there is no need for drugs. Sometimes you actually can achieve very good results with physio. I was sold after that, after actually seeing it work properly. And he is a good rabbit, so I don't know if most rabbits would tolerate physio quite as well as he does, because he is quite a confident rabbit. But with him, yeah, he did the exercises fine, he did the treadmill fine, he even did some acupuncture, which was cool. And yeah, it in a couple weeks, and he regained a lot of mobility, which is nice. I really, really, really like the results.
Fantastic. What a great answer. And I'm thrilled that you used rabbits as an example. I treat quite a lot of rabbits, and I can assure you that it's amazing how much we can do with rabbits generally. So they haven't got to be just the most amazing rabbit and, oh no, now I can actually treat you. It really is quite impressive, because the thing is with physios, it's quite flexible. Rather like you were saying about the diversity of the veterinary work, similar in the physio world. And so, if you have got a rabbit that is not so hands-on, you can still find exercises and way of making them move to do stuff. Like it could be that they reach for something, or they lean on something, or you give them a different surface to try and move on and stuff. And so there's ways of doing it where it hasn't got to be as hands-on if they won't tolerate it. But I haven't had a rabbit yet that wouldn't tolerate what I did. And yeah, it's amazing, because I see them for arthritis commonly, but also broken bones, particularly front arms. There's so many things that you see. So yeah, I am absolutely thrilled to hear you say that. So thank you very much for that.
No problem.
So
It's true.
Good, exactly. That's lovely. So, tell me, what is the weirdest dream you've ever had? I feel like as a gamer, you must have some significantly weird dreams.
Actually, no. I dream extremely little. I don't like sleep to begin with. So
Ah,
I end up going to bed just actually tired, which I think it's why I don't dream too much because my body's like, no, it's sleep time. So I don't
wow.
dream really much at all. But when I do, I end up forgetting about it half hour after I wake up. But I have a lot of dreams about crashing cars for some reason, where I get into car accidents routinely, and it's always kind of the same. It's like the gearbox stops working. That's a very weird recurring dream that I have.
That is a weird recurring dream. Sounds a bit paranoid.
Yeah, it does.
um, wow. Well, I hope that you're okay and you don't ever have a car crash because that does
Same.
sound worrying.
I
Yes.
basically don't drive now. I drive maybe once a week to go shopping, and that's it.
I bet that's why. And then that's probably like it's probably fueling each other, isn't it? You don't
Yeah,
drive, so then you dream more about the worry, and then oh
maybe.
yeah, blimey, yeah, that's pretty scary. Yeah, I must admit, I mean, it is a concern for anybody who drives. I think if you're not real, if you haven't ever crossed your mind that you might have a crash, but
Yeah.
yeah, oh blimey, well, poor you. I hope that passes. Hope
It
that
doesn't
passes
happen too often, but it is strange that it is a very recurring one.
for sure. So tell me, what's been the most memorable part of your career so far?
Diagnosing Leishmania definitely was the
Oh,
most
really?
the because it's not a disease that you get in the UK. You don't have the
Yeah,
vector for it, so it was. But we get taught it in Portugal because it exists a lot there. So I
yeah,
think that we they weren't sure what was wrong with the dog, and I think that one of the things was because no one connected that dot because they didn't have that dot to connect. So that
yeah,
was probably one of the things that stuck with me of like my particular set of skills coming to
yeah.
an actual result. So yeah.
Well, they do say that that's becoming more of an issue in the UK now, though, don't they? So it is something that the vets are having to get more
But
clued
it's
up on.
because of imported dogs.
Mm,
It's not because of the vector yet. I have a fear that as global warming goes up, at some point the flies are going to cross the channel, and then we're going to have it endemic here as well. But it's not proven to be the case yet. For now, it seems that all cases are imported dogs. The first time that it happens with a dog that's never been outside of the UK, that's going to be concerning.
yeah, for sure. It is not a very nice disease, obviously. It's the same as like distemper. I mean, we don't get that in the UK really at all. But the only dogs I've ever seen that have clearly had it have been ones that are abroad and come in, and then that is in the history. I think we've had the odd seal that's been found with it, which is a bit random. But yeah, yeah, that's pretty scary. But yeah, well done you for recognizing it and acknowledging it, because yeah, that must have been, but everybody was like, whoa, thank god we've got you.
But it was then after I thought about it, it was kind of obvious because the dog had come from a European country. The symptoms matched, so bloods, and yeah, it was. But you needed to know what you were looking at.
Yeah, well done. So this is a question from a client, and I really like this question. And I must admit, I don't even know if I've sent it you. What would be your birthday wish?
Oh, my birthday wish.
I know the pressure,
Huh.
right? It's like when they give you a cake and they're like, make a wish, and you're like, whoa, I never thought about this right now.
Yeah, it's one of it's my birthday wish.
Haven't had a birthday in a while.
I'm actually gonna have one in a couple of weeks because I'm June, so
Oh, so
I'm
you
gonna
need
start
to
thinking
not
now.
tell us. You need to not tell us what your actual birthday wish would
Yeah, it's
be.
gonna be to be another one. All the birthday wishes like that when people get put in the spot, I can only think of like financial things. Like I hope that inflation wasn't hitting 9%. Things like that is the first thing that came to my mind. I hope I wish that our cost of living wasn't as bad as it is right now. So that seems like a very broad, good birthday wish. Just
It is a
let's
good one. It's good for everybody, that, so
let's
that's nice and kind. Yeah, and I think everybody would be joining you in that one, so that's fair enough. So my definitely last question. I would like to ask you, what is your best tip for dealing with pain?
Best tip to deal with pain.
I know it's a
I
broad
think,
question, that one, isn't it?
yeah, because it kind of depends what type of pain we're talking about. But the first thing that I think we need to know is how to actually measure it. So having good sets of rules to how we are measuring it is important, because we can't start to treat without knowing the degree of pain we're talking about. So, and how worse or better is it getting? So the whole counting lampposts when the dog walks, or is the cat having accidents outside of the litter box, things like that. It's noticing those small details. That's the first step. If we can't do that, we can't do anything else. So I guess that's my first tip: pay attention. Like, pay attention and write things down.
That is an excellent, excellent, excellent tip. So thank you so much for that. So everybody watching, top tip for pain from Lewis is make sure that you learn to recognize pain in the first place, recognize what behavioral changes are going on, just things, the little things, and then we can take that in the history, and then he'll ask you loads more questions to try and figure out what else might be going on, and then working out whether it's pain. And it's not even a case of necessarily knowing and thinking, oh, that's painful, because people always think of the top, always limping, stuff like that. Those they think of as pain. But it's just understanding that something's happened, something's different, so something must be going on. Even just acknowledging that, and then taking that list of things that are different to the vet, means you can have a chat about it, doesn't it? And then you can go
And
from there.
I have a particular tip for rabbit owners.
Yeah.
Record it without yourself in the room. So set up a camera and just record them when you're not there. Rabbits are prey animals. Their behavior changes if you are present in the room.
That is a really, really good tip. Really good tip. Might be difficult to get your camera set up when you're not in the room if you're not very techie, but it's definitely possible, isn't it? So, press record on your phone, leave it on a little tripod, and off you pop. So, yeah, that's a really, really good idea. So,
there's a
love that
lot of
tip.
research done in post-op rabbits in veterinary setting, and the grimace scale changes drastically if you are doing it by the kennel door or if you're doing it via camera outside of kennels. So it is a proven relationship that you shouldn't be in the room where trying to evaluate pain in rabbits.
Wow, that's really interesting that it's like it's done on a study as well. That's amazing. Definitely got to make sure I remember that one, and pass that tip on. So very, very interesting stuff there. Thank you so much, Lewis. Lewis, it's been absolutely amazing having you on. I've had a really, really good chat. You've been a great person to listen to. Loads of
Thank you.
knowledge, so much knowledge. I hope everybody's really enjoyed watching this. And if you have any questions later, obviously just bash them over. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
watching. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.